became one of the warmest road movies of the 1990s. Stay to the end, because not everyone in the real world was happy with what this movie borrowed. One of the warmest movies of the 1990s was an autographed photo of Julie Newmar, the original Catwoman from the 1966 Batman series. It was a fan's gift, not a studio prop. Newmar had signed it personally to the restaurant's head bartender, a man named Wong Fu, nicknamed Fu, a struggling playwright paying his bills as a male nanny, and he wrote To Wong Fu on a 2-week break from that job. He found exactly one screenwriting manual on the library shelf. It was from 1935, a 1995 movie built from a how-to book written during the Great Depression, 60 years out of date, and it shows. The early script read less like a studio screenplay and more like literature. He even considered staging it as a play before he understood that a road trip story needs an actual road. He finished it anyway, $1,000, a life-changing sum for a man who had written it on a nanny break. But Spielberg did not buy the script and walk away. He became one of the movie's most important protectors. The first thing he protected was the title. Studio marketing executives panicked over how long and odd it was and started floating simpler alternatives like Ladies' Night and She's a Lady. Spielberg refused every one of them. His bigger influence was on tone. In Bean's original draft, the queens were fabulous and the townspeople of Snurrsville were the punchline. Spielberg's note was simple. Stop making fun of the town. He wanted Snurrsville to feel like a real forgotten place in the middle of America, not a backdrop he left out entirely, so he asked for a small cameo as a character named John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, who flirts with Chi-Chi in a diner. He made one specific request about it. He wanted to be uncredited. Williams understood that a credited Robin Williams appearance would pull focus. Audiences would spend the whole cameo waiting for him instead of watching the film. He showed up, did the scene, and let his name disappear from the film entirely. Then the film hit a wall that had nothing to do with the script. Nobody wanted to direct it. Before B-Band Kidron got pregnant, director on a major studio movie was an unprecedented insurance risk at the time, and by the standard logic of the era, she would simply have been dropped. Spielberg solved it himself. He volunteered to take over as director if anything happened to Kidron during production, promising to step in and finish the remaining scenes so the movie would not shut down. She never needed him. Kidron directed the entire shoot herself. By the last day of filming, Gary Oldman, James Spader, Tom Cruise, and Johnny Depp. Patrick Swayze entered the process late, receiving the script only a few hours before his audition. There was no realistic way to memorize the dialogue in that window, so instead of feminine tendencies he did not yet understand. That gave Vita emotional weight before she was ever costume. He also brought his own makeup team to transform him before meeting with the director, and then pushed further. In a tight miniskirt and a bright crop top, fully transformed, and stayed in character as Chi-Chi from the moment he entered until the moment he left. During screen tests, he deliberately stepped